This is your host, Cheyenne Roberts.
And Lisa Wardle.
And today we are talking about Chapter 8 of the California Math Framework, which focuses on my favorite high school mathematics grades 9 through 12.
Also known as the years where math suddenly feels very, very serious. Mm-hmm. And students start asking, is this going to matter for my future? While side-eyeing the syllabus.
Right. This is where math either starts to feel powerful and connected.
Or like a long, confusing obstacle course that ends with a final exam and emotional exhaustion for both teacher and student.
It's true. And Chapter 8 is very clear. High school math is not just about learning more math.
It's about using math to make sense of the world, predict what could happen, and impact the future.
No pressure. Just shaping how students interpret data, make decisions, and avoid being fooled by confident graphs on the internet.
Mm-hmm. We are really doing public service work here, you know?
I know, public servants right here. So one of the biggest shifts that I noticed in the chapter is that high school math is no longer meant to feel like a checklist or disconnected courses.
Right, like algebra, geometry, algebra 2, panic, repeat.
Instead, the framework pushes us to organize instruction around big ideas that connect across courses and across the years.
So students are not just learning topics, they are learning how ideas relate to one another.
And I just want to point out here that while we are continuing at Hemet Unified to do the traditional pathway, that algebra, geometry, algebra 2, that doesn't mean that we don't need to get our scope and sequence to make sure that it's still around those big ideas.
Right.
So when we talk later about curriculum, that is still something that we're looking for, even though we are keeping that traditional path.
Right, because that has to align with the new framework. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah. So while we are looking at this, it means that we're looking for fewer moments of why are we doing this and moments of like, oh, I see how this is connected.
Yes. And at the heart of Chapter 8, it has the same structure we talked about before, the why, the how, and the what.
Yep. So remember the why, those come from the drivers of instruction.
Yeah, making sense of the world.
Predicting what could happen.
And impacting the future.
Which finally gives us a solid answer to the classic high school question, when am I ever going to use this?
Because now the answer is actually sooner than you think.
And the how shows up with those SMPs, the standards of mathematical practice.
Mm-hmm. So the reasoning, modeling, arguing, which we all know teenagers love to argue, and using tools strategically.
Yes. So again, still very aligned with those building thinking classroom strategies that we've been talking about.
Yeah, students doing the thinking.
And teachers practicing the fine art of not immediately explaining everything.
Which I know is super hard to get used to, but we could do it. We can do it.
Daily struggle. Yep.
Yes.
And the what is organized through 4 content connections that show up across high school math.
First, there's that reasoning with data.
So high school students should not just calculate statistics, but they should be learning how to question them.
Mm-hmm. Like, who collected this data and why? And why should we trust it?
And is this graph misleading or is it aggressively designed?
Right. And then second, we come up to the exploring changing quantities.
This is where functions really come alive. So those linear, quadratic, exponential, logarithmic functions.
Students are not just graphing because somebody told them to.
They are understanding the difference between growth and decay in these trends over time.
Right, like population growth or interest rates, which they've been crazy, and why your phone battery drops from 20% to 0% in approximately 3 minutes. Well, Cheyenne can relate to that.
We saw how many apps I'd open at once. That's probably why. And third, taking whole parts apart and putting them back together.
This is algebra at its core. So it's the structure,
decomposition.
Right, I cannot talk today. And relationships.
Yeah, so instead of memorizing the steps, students start to understand why those steps work.
Which is also when math starts to feel slightly less magical and slightly more logical.
And finally, discovering shape and space.
So in high school geometry, it's not just about naming shapes and hoping for the best.
It's the transformations, similarity, trigonometry, and modeling space.
Mm-hmm. Connecting geometry to algebra, coordinates, and the real world.
Yeah. Another major emphasis of Chapter 8.
I'm sorry, we're laughing because I said coordinates instead of coordinates. It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine. Another major emphasis on Chapter 8 is investigation before instruction.
Which can feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, for teachers.
For students.
For anyone who really just wants the formula immediately.
Right. But the framework is clear. Students learn more deeply when they explore, notice patterns, and wrestle with ideas before formal methods are introduced.
That does not mean every lesson turns into this 3-week group project, though.
Right. But sometimes it is a short task, a quick investigation, or even a routine that sparks curiosity.
The key is that thinking should be coming first.
Chapter 8 also talks about pathways, so the traditional and integrated, kind of like what you just mentioned a few minutes ago.
And it makes one thing really clear: regardless of the pathway, connection matters.
Right. Algebra, geometry, statistics, and function should not live in separate silos.
Students should be experiencing math as this connected story, not as a collection of unrelated units.
Right. And here is a big high school takeaway. The goal is not just racing to calculus.
No, the goal is deep understanding, flexibility, confidence, and choice.
And some students will pursue careers in STEM.
And others won't.
Right. And all students do deserve math experiences that keep doors open instead of quietly closing them.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this before planning lessons or reviewing curriculum, here is the Chapter 8 lens.
All right. So are students investigating meaningful problems?
Are ideas connected through the units in the courses?
Are students reasoning, modeling, and explaining, not just copying the steps?
And do students leave class believing math is something that they can use, not just something they have to endure?
I know, because high school math is the final chapter of students' K through 12 math story.
And this framework challenges us to make that chapter meaningful.
Not just something that students need to survive.
But something that they actually remember.
Yes. So, all right, math crew, and all that is Chapter 8 in our fun little summary.
Yeah, high school math. Big ideas, big connections, and slightly fewer panic attacks, hopefully.
As you head back to your classrooms, your PLCs, or your curriculum reviews, just remember, this chapter is really asking us to make math feel meaningful.
Not just something we all need to survive.
But something that kids can actually use.
And maybe even enjoy. Wild concept.
Very wild. So thanks for spending a little time with us today.
We know you have a million things on your plate, so we really appreciate you pressing play.
And we will be back soon with the next chapter. So until then, keep noticing the math around you.
And keep building classrooms where students feel like they belong in math.
Talk soon, math crew.
Bye.
Bye.